There it is, officially no fall championships.
Really? Crazy.
Dan, please cite your sources.
Mark Emmert. It was the ESPN.
That's a good one.
That was ESPN. Not including FBS football, though, obviously. So we'll see what happens there.
All right, people are starting to come in now, so we'll give it like 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, perfect. So I'll see if I can manage letting people in and giving introductions at the same time. We'll see how good my multitasking skills are. I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Really, obviously, you have a really great panel. Looking forward to the advice and some of the nuggets and gems that some of the guests and coaches on the panel are going to be able to give us as young coaches trying to progress in the business. Was talking with a couple of coaches a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of times we get on these Zooms and a lot of coaches talk about some of the cliche things that you can do to progress in this business, be the hardest worker in the room, be where your feet are. But one of the things I wanted to do at this event is give people tangible things that they can do starting tomorrow to help them progress in this business. And I think we found 6 great guests that are going to be able to do that for us tonight. So we're looking forward to listening and having about an hour of questions and then open it up to audience questions for that second hour. So really looking forward to tonight. Just a quick introduction. We have Dan, who is the Director of Basketball Operations at Marquette. We have John, he's the Director of Basketball Operations at Furman. We have Chris, Director of Basketball Operations at St. John's. We have Zach, who's the Director of Basketball Operations at Winthrop. We have Pam, who's the Director of Basketball Operations at Penn State on the women's side, as well as Allie, who's the Director of Basketball Operations at the University of Pittsburgh on the women's side. So again, really great high-level panel with some 6 high-level coaches that I've gotten to know over the past week and some of the other coaches over quarantine. So like I said, really looking forward to what our guests have to share tonight. And let's just get it started. So the way we're going to do this is ask 1 question per guest, give us a little bio, and then you can get into the first question. And we'll go through and ask the first question, go around for second round with second questions. And then hopefully that takes us to the hour mark and we can jump into some of the questions that the audience might have. All right, so our first question is going to go over to Dan. So Dan, just give us a little bit about yourself. And then the first question for you is, what are some things you did as a manager to add value to your program?
Yeah, so first of all, just wanted to thank you, Caleb, for having all of us on here. And you know, I think a lot of people, they try to figure out, like, how can I connect? And sometimes they're like, I don't know enough to host a Zoom, or maybe I'm too young to host a Zoom. What you're doing is amazing. And even though, you may not be Oprah Winfrey as a talk show host, I mean, like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't worry about being perfect, and just starting something is great. You have, and essentially you have people coming to you, right? People are coming to you to network. So that's awesome, and thank you for that. But yeah, just a little bit about me. Um, I'm obviously the ops at Marquette. I was a student manager here for 4 years, two with Buzz Williams and two with Coach Wojo. Got lucky enough timing wise where um, he gave me the GA's position, and then kind of just never left from there. So again, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I'm probably way more lucky than I am good. That's kind of where how I got to where I am today. Um, but I guess to answer your question about kind of what things did I do to bring value, number one, I always told myself that my job title was DFE, do freaking everything, and you can change that F word to whatever you want. Um, but that's kind of how I took it. Like, I mean, I would babysit, I would chauffeur people around, I dog sit. I mean, there are times where I would get on a roof and root and take shingles off. Like, I was a mascot. One time Buzz did a little birthday bash for a homeless shelter, and they needed someone to be Minnie Mouse. So I'm like, shoot, I'll do it. Yeah, I have pictures. I dressed up as Minnie Mouse. Um, don't be afraid to do anything. Um, and then obviously kind of my biggest thing for me was I love being on the court. I love rebounding. I love working with guys out as student managers, as a manager, and that probably is one of the biggest things that um, gave me trust, or built that trust with the players and with the coaches. So, I was never afraid to come early or stay late, and a lot of it had to do with my parents too, right? That's kind of how they brought me up. And then, like, there were times where, like, you go around and ask the coaches, hey, what can I do? And there was nothing to do. So I didn't want to leave. So I would literally go downstairs and Pam worked at the Al, at Marquette. And like, I'd go down there, I'd take whatever laundry, it could be 2 t-shirts, and I'd throw it in the wash just to do that. So literally it forced me to stay at the Al McGuire Center facility for an extra hour. And usually what happens within that hour, there's something that needed to be done. And I was there. So, for everyone on the call, like, make yourself available. You're always being evaluated, no matter where you are, what you're doing. Obviously, even like right now, you're going through, everyone on the Zoom, and you have Benjamin Targov, who I've met. Like, you're also like, how are you guys presenting yourself? What are you guys wearing? Are you guys laying in bed? You're always being evaluated, and you never know by who. And so, that's kind of, DFE, do freaking everything, be that person, especially as a young, as someone being young, you have to find a way to make an impression. And that's one of the ways that helped me, at least.
No, perfect. Perfect. All right, next we're going to shoot over to John. Again, he is the director of basketball operations at Furman. So, John, again, same question. Just give us a little bit of an intro about yourself. And then the next question for you is, what did you do while a manager at the University of Miami to support the coaching staff?
Yeah, well, like Daniel said, thank you. I appreciate it. A little bit of my story is I went to community college coming out of high school and really had no direct interest in basketball. And then started coaching at a local private school, little Christian high school. And kind of when you coach one sport at a small Christian school like that, you end up coaching them all. And so I was at least assisting everywhere. And then I ended up trying to finish my undergrad at Miami, Florida. Went down there and basically had options to either be a student manager at baseball, with the baseball team, or with the basketball team. I chose basketball. And from there, just kind of worked my way up. Was there for 2 years, got to be head manager my senior year. Then was blessed enough to make it into the University of Virginia as a graduate student, where I became a graduate assistant under Coach Bennett. It's my claim to fame right now. I think I have two. One is that well, I'll give you the good one first. Right now in my career, I'm 3-0 against Duke. So I guess not many people can say that. The not so positive one is that I'm the only GA in the history of college athletics to lose to a 16 seed. And so that's the negative one. So that was my team. But then leaving Virginia, I was fortunate enough to be able to interview and get the job at Furman University as director of operations, and going into my third season here now. So as far as things that I did as a manager, it's again similar to what Dan said. When I wasn't in class, I basically just went to the basketball office and found a way to serve. And that attitude of servanthood is also what brought me over to UVA. And when you look to serve, it sets you apart from other people, because lots of people tend to do what's not necessarily what's convenient, but I feel like people tend to set goals and then do the minimum it takes to reach that goal. And for me, it's about how much can I do to serve those around me. And that's just for me what I feel is right. It's not to point fingers at anyone else, but so when I wasn't in class, rather than maintain a high level social life in South Beach and go out to the clubs and do whatever, it's like, hey, what can I do to help anyone? And okay, Jim Larinaga is probably pretty inaccessible because he's the head coach of an ACC program. So is there a way that I can assist the assistant coaches? Well, even they seem to be pretty busy. So is there a way that I can assist the video coordinator? Or is there a way that I can assist the graduate assistants and just keep myself busy? And so it's like the head manager my junior year would be packing for a road trip, and I'd just pop in and I'd be like, hey, I'm helping you. What can I do? Anytime there was an opportunity to take someone's laundry responsibility, it's, hey, I'll take it, I'll do it. And then just little things that I could do to set myself apart, like recognizing that everything that I was doing, again, similar to what Dan's saying, I was leaving my signature on. So what could I do to leave what did I want to leave my signature on? It's like the ball rack needs to be put in a certain place in the locker room. And so I would align the balls on the ball rack to all have the logo facing the same way. And it looks neater, and it's little things like that without even people realizing it, place a higher value in the program than your peers. And people notice when you begin to serve others around you like that. They're like, wow, like lots of people might do things for me, but John just does it a little bit differently. And that was my goal, is just that John serves at a different level than other people. And that wasn't so that I would be noticed, but it would be so that maybe these guys will take me to 95%, but I trust that John's going to take us to 100%. And so I just did as many little things as I could to get us from 95 to 100%. And that's the attitude I tried to bring at Miami, and then at Virginia, and now at Furman as well.
Appreciate that, John. Definitely. That's big time. So next we're going to go over to Pam. So again, Pam is the director of basketball operations at Penn State Women's. And Pam, so for our former players, what are some lessons that you learned from your college and professional career that have led you to be a successful coach?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on this panel tonight. It's great things that you're doing, Caleb. So kudos to you for getting this set up. But just a little bit about me. So I kind of took an unusual path to where I'm at now. After playing overseas, was about to go back over a week before my next contract, and my college coach called up and was like, hey, I got a job opening. And I was like, crap, do I take it? Do I continue playing? I knew I wanted to get into coaching, and I was like, you know what, there aren't many opportunities. So I took it and ran with it. So I ended up starting as ops for my first 2 years down at Miami in Florida, and then transitioned into assistant coach at Winthrop for a couple of years, and I was at North Texas and at Stetson. And I kind of got to that point where I was like, you know what, I think I just want to be more on the ops side. So that's how I ended up at Marquette, back on the ops side, and then now at Penn State. But I just think being able to have played in college and professionally has helped me with working with others on a team. I know it sounds cliche, but you're literally your office staff is your team. The girls, then you add the players, that's your team. You got your strength and conditioning coach, but being able to adapt and work with them on a daily basis. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Things are going to change. Coaches want to change schedules. So you want to change practice time. You know, there might be a kid that's sick and we got to rearrange things. But just being able to adapt and to communicate at a high level to get that word out to your team, to your staff, and making sure that everyone is on the same page. And then I think too, as being a former student athlete and being able to adapt and work with the players on a daily basis, to share my experiences with them, playing in college, playing overseas. Like, I get it, and it's tough, it sucks. You got a lot going on, but like that time that you have in practice between the lines or in the weight room, like take advantage of it for them. And like those 4 hours that it is, like just focus on basketball, let it be basketball. And then afterwards, then you can worry about class, then you can worry about boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be, and get rolling with that. But I just think being able to adapt and working together has really helped me to be where I'm at today. So.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So now we're going to transition to Chris. Again, he's the director of basketball operations at St. John. So we talked about what you can do as a manager for some of our coaches. So now, Chris, what are some of the things that you did to position yourself to become the video coordinator at Santa Clara after you were a manager at Kansas?
Yeah, so like everybody else before me, Caleb, thank you for putting this together. Surrounded by a good group of people here who has a lot of great experience and different paths to where we all are. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I would say the biggest thing that helped me get to Santa Clara during my time as a manager was really relationships. If it wasn't for the Kansas staff, I didn't have any connections to anyone at Santa Clara. Their head coach at the time was Kerry Keating. His father happened to be an assistant AD at Kansas, who I knew but didn't have a great relationship with, had been around each other and worked together just slightly. And I had actually taken another job after graduating. I took a basketball operations internship with the Sixers, moved to Philly in August, and was at training camp when I was offered the position at Santa Clara. The biggest thing for me that helped me was my senior year, and kind of much like John and Dan were both saying, like, I just lived in the facilities, and that's not to brag. I put a lot of priority on that, and a lot of that has to do with the managers who came before me, who said, hey, if this is what you want to do, you know, this is what you should do, and take it or leave it. But this is how it helped us. And so I kind of just lived around the facility and was fortunate enough my senior year to needed to do an internship for school, and the video coordinator said, why don't you just do it with me? So I was able to gain a ton of experience that way, being around the office, helping the assistant coaches with scouting reports, whether it was clipping things up, drawing up plays for the paper scout. It just gave me the opportunity to learn from those guys and build trust in them. And then when it came time, Coach Keating reached out to the Kansas staff. And before I knew it, I didn't even really interview for the job. I mean, he called me and basically said, hey, I'm offering you this position. I have it open, and the Kansas staff speaks highly of you. And he had contacted people with the Sixers and let them know that he was going to offer it to me. So before I could even take it to people above me and say, hey, I'm going to give this some thought, they were saying, hey, you should take this. So I think the biggest thing was relationships. The time spent in the office, you can't make up for that. Like Dan said, it was the small things that started to build that trust. Restocking fridges, taking out the recycling, getting things out of the way for coaches, and then just slowly building the trust and being around, and then eventually working with the video coordinator that helped put me in that position.
Gotcha. No, that's great. That's great. All right, Zach. So similar question. How did you become a graduate assistant at VCU, and what were you able to learn during this time in your career? Again, Zach is the director of basketball operations at Winthrop.
Caleb, thanks so much for putting this on and having me as one of the panelists. And thank you everyone for being here today, tonight I should say, and tuning in. Look forward to learning from the other panelists as well. But how I got to VCU is just like what Chris was talking about, is relationships. The first little point of it was during my sophomore year as a manager at North Florida. one of the assistants gave me the idea of go to every person on our staff and ask them for 5 names of people they know in the business, people they're close with, that I could reach out to, write handwritten letters, send text, emails, whatever it was, so I could get to know them. So, that was my sophomore year as a manager, and all of a sudden I had 25 names. One of the names on the list was Will Wade. He was a manager at Clemson when Coach Driscoll, the head coach in North Florida, was an assistant at Clemson back in the day. And got to know Coach Wade, wrote him a bunch of letters, eventually got his phone number, text with him. And then fast forward maybe 6 months, I'm in the locker room on just a regular Sunday afternoon doing the team laundry. And I had no idea, but the locker room door opened. There was Coach Driscoll and there was Coach Wade. Coach Wade was in the area in Florida recruiting and just stopped by campus to check out our facility, say hello to Coach. And I got to meet him in person for the first time. So really developed that relationship. A year later, went and worked several camps around the country, including VCU. So that was an opportunity for me to meet the rest of their staff. And fast forward a year later, we actually played at VCU, so my senior year. And 10 minutes before tip-off, their director of ops offered me the GA spot. So I say all that because, as Chris just talked about, it's all about relationships. If Coach Wade wasn't a manager at Clemson in 2003, that would have never developed for me, as his relationship with Coach Driscoll really helped me out. But then it was on me to develop that with him and get to know the rest of the staff. So that was that's how I got to VCU. When I was there, Coach Wade left after year 1 to go to LSU. And I didn't know really what would happen, but Coach Rhodes was hired a day or two later. AD moved really quickly, knew who he wanted to hire, and came in and told me right away that I had nothing to worry about. I'd be able to stay, which was a huge relief because there was obviously panic not knowing whether I'd have a job or where I was going or what I was doing. So that was amazing, and just really learned 2 completely different ways of doing things, especially different than UNF. A lot of success at both programs for all 3 coaches. Just learned a lot, but the most important thing I would say is the servant leadership that I think John talked about, and just how to treat people every single day. Like I remember to this day, Coach Driscoll helping me pick up cups and fold chairs after he got his 100th win. We were on the road at Hartford, and the head coach is there picking up cups from the floor with me. And just how you treat people. He'd take bags off the bus into the airport. Like it doesn't matter your title, whether you're a head coach, your manager, your GA, director of ops. How can you make a difference in someone else's life? And when you have that mentality every single day, great things are going to happen, and that's how you can bring value to your program where you are today.
Perfect. And I think that the reaching out to everyone on staff and getting 5 names is key. That's something that everyone can do on their staff. And like you said, that's a quick way to multiply the people in your circle that can hopefully help you get a job for managers, GAs, when it's time to come up and move on to the next position. So really like that piece of advice. So thank you for that. All right, so next we have Allie. She is the Director of Basketball Operations at the University of Pittsburgh. So Allie, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then your first question is, during your time at Florida State, you managed recruiting operations and creative initiatives. What can you share about this experience, and what were you able to learn that you are currently applying in your current role?
Yeah, well, hello, everybody. I'm Allie. Caleb, thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody for joining us. So a little bit of background on myself. I was the head manager at Rutgers under Coach Stringer. I started managing my my junior and senior year. My first 2 years, I played club basketball, and I was like, well, not going to have a playing career. So let me switch to the manager side and, decide I was going to devote all my time to it. I was all in 100%, whatever I needed to do to make a name for myself. I had no connections in basketball, just a passion for the game. And, when I was in 5th grade, my dream was to work for play for Coach Stringer. So best thing is working for her. Because I grew up 30 minutes from Rutgers, loved Cappy Pondexter, all of that. So when I became a manager, I just kept running into people, and I was like, I think life is a series of connecting the dots, and that's kind of like my story a little bit. I was on the Rutgers bus, and I kept running into managers and practice players, and they were like, oh, you're the girl that hoops with the guys, and why don't you become a manager? And I was like, okay, yeah. So I just kept calling people, finally got to their DOBO and was like, I'm really interested. And then I, got the job and, loved every minute of it. Then when I graduate or in between my junior senior year, I went to the Washington Mystics in the WNBA, was their operations intern for the summer, which was a great experience. And then went back for my senior year, graduated, and then was looking for a job, trying to find what was out there. And luckily the Mystics coaches knew of an opening at Florida State as their recruiting ops, and just a gut feeling, I thought that was the right move for me. Picked up and moved to Florida 4 days before July eval, and I was responsible for all recruiting. So I was like thrown into the fire right away. And then spent 2 years there, unbelievable time, with Coach Sue and all of them. And then at the time, our associate head coach, Lance White, he gets the job at Pitt and ends up taking me with him because he knows being a DOBO is my dream job. So here I am today, in my dream role at Pitt with him and going in my third season. So, very, very grateful for my experiences. And to answer your question, my time at Florida State, like I said, I was the recruiting operations. I dealt with mail outs, all eval, coaches travel, graphics, and my role expanded as time went on. And, the creative side, it was something that I really didn't have much experience in. I just kind of, like I said, was thrown into it, but, I was determined to be the best at it. Our recruiting coordinator, Coach Santos, she made me better every day. I studied graphics online, followed creatives, like anything that I could do to make our mail outs the best in the country. Like that was my goal. Like I wanted it to be perfect. I'm very meticulous in everything that I do. So I wanted the graphics to be perfect. I even dabbled in Photoshop myself, self-taught, just watching our student graphic designers, all that type of stuff. We had a guy named John on our staff. He's still at Florida State, one of the best in the business. Just watched him create videos and graphics and, was really able to see a side of, women's basketball that, I never really noticed before. I don't know if the men's side does graphics a lot, but on the women's side, it's super important for our recruits. And then, over time, I just kind of developed an eye for it. I have over probably 5,000 pictures on my phone still of graphic ideas that I work with our video coordinator, Sean. He's an awesome graphic designer. We collaborate on ideas and, what cool things can we do? And, I oversee our director of creative content, what videos are we putting out, for workouts or sent to recruits. So my time at Florida State really taught me a lot and, able to, use it in my current role, which is fun. I love that side because it's a little more creative. It's not so much a list. You can kind of be free flowing with it. So keeps me entertained, keeps my mind sharp. So very grateful for handling or dealing with all that stuff.
Perfect. Thank you, Allie. All right. We're going to go back to Dan. So Dan, what have you done and are you currently doing as a program assistant, assistant video coordinator, and currently as a DOBO to prepare yourself to become an assistant coach?
So, that's a great question. And obviously, for me, how I've done it, how I kind of go about it is different than other people. Like I try, everyone says be present, one thing I've heard, if you have one foot in the future and one foot in the past, you're going to crap all over the present. Like my goal is to help people through the game of basketball because I love basketball and I love helping people. And I think a lot of times what everyone can get caught up in, I need to be assistant coach. I need to be a head coach by a certain age. Well, the truth is you can't control any of that. You like a lot of it is timing. It's relationships. You can't, a lot of that stuff you can't control. So why would you make that a goal? Right. So I think, at this point, one thing that I'm trying to work on is managing people, right? Kind of as a manager, as a GA, you're kind of told what to do and you're not, it's way different on the other side when you're telling other people what to do. And then, learning that side of it is totally different. We have unbelievable managers. We have a wonderful support team. Barb, Allison, Noreen, they help me, and getting their feedback and how I can lead better is huge, and working on that. The one thing that I encourage everyone to do as a manager, as a GA, as a video coordinator, as ops, get to know everyone around your program, from marketing, from compliance, from your chef, from your caterers, to your bus driver. Get to know them and try to find ways to help them too. Because as we all know, this is it's a smaller world than we think, where everyone knows everyone, people talk. And the last thing you want to do is for someone to say something poorly about you. So, get to know the people around your program. Don't focus on the next job, right? It's going to come. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and BS and say I don't want to coach. I want to keep helping people, and if that leads to coaching, great. The one thing that I am doing, as far as like the next level for me to be an assistant coach, I'm gonna need to recruit, right? Well, I've never recruited before. How the hell is that going to happen? Why would anyone hire me to be an assistant coach? Well, one thing that I can do is show an interest in recruiting in our staff meetings. Watch those highlights of the recruits, of the kids that you're recruiting. Make sure when your coaches ask you for your opinion that you have one. And then for me, like I love people, right? But I'm also an introvert. So it's not natural for me to make a million phone calls a day or a million texts. So one thing that I did during this time was I kind of organized my contacts on my phone on a little Google Drive. And, every week or so, I try to go back through, all right, who do I need to reach out to? Who have I not, heard from recently? And that's helped me. And, I think, a lot of times is, you have, like, I'll get student managers or people reaching out to me and, asking for advice and this and that. And I love talking to them. Right. But then they also fail to reach back out and follow up. And ultimately that relationship's going nowhere. Right. Like, you have to follow up. That's hard to do because you don't want to be annoying. Right. But you have to find ways, whether it's writing letters, or even instead of maybe just asking for advice, giving advice or giving little tidbits. I saw that I'm not going to give Chris advice from St. John's, but if, hey, saw so-and-so, I saw Seton Hall do this action and here's the counter. Well, cut that up and send it to that coach. All that stuff is huge. And I guess I'll say two more things or three. In every meeting, there's always a pause, right? And Matt was on Matt Elkin was on our last Zoom call, and DK said this, and it actually hit me. There's always a pause where someone's like, hey, what time is St. John's playing tonight? What channel are they playing on? Oh, who's that kid from Florida that recruit? Or there's all these pauses and question marks that happen during all these meetings. And if you're ready and you can jump on that, that's huge and it's important. It shows that you're engaged, you're active, you're ready to go, you're in tune with every aspect of the program. So win that pause in every meeting. And then my second to last point, save money, right? You're not in this business to make tons of money. And I'll say this, the longer you can last financially, the better your odds are for that door to open and for you to break in. It's the odds. The longer you can stay in it, because the last thing you want to do, and I've seen it happen with a lot of people, is, they start having families. There's kids now, and they can't afford to take a job, making so and so how much money. So save money now. I'm not saying don't have fun, don't enjoy life, but there's got to be a balance with all that. So save right now at this point. And then the last thing, and I love, kind of how I started, like Caleb, what you're doing, you could easily be selfish and just do this DOBO panel with just us 6 DOBOs and not share it with everyone, right? Share your knowledge with everyone. Go talk to people and share ideas, because the one thing I love about Chris, literally during this quarantine, we're calling each other like, all right, what the hell are you doing? How are you handling this? And then what ends up happening is you guys, we learn from each other, and then our ideas build off each other and we grow. It's actually a really selfish thing to get an idea and to hold on to it, and then expect other people and to be arrogant enough to expect other people to come to you. No one's going to do that. So, once you get an idea, no matter how silly, smart, share it with people, and then cultivate it. And ultimately, that's how, to be honest, as a human race, that's how we're going to grow. And as basketball coaches, as ops, that's how we're going to grow, is if we share. So, I know that was probably a long-winded answer, but that's kind of what I think.
No, perfect. Love it. So next we'll go to Pam. So Pam, you talked about how you were an assistant coach. You transitioned to, as you were an assistant, and then you transitioned back to a DOBO. So what was that kind of experience like, going from on the court back to off the court? So what are some of the things you enjoyed about that? And then what were some of the things that maybe were tough for you to transition in that process?
I would say, well, the toughest thing I could say is not being able to be on the court, obviously, was as being a player and being on the court all the time. But you learn to put your voice elsewhere. I think transitioning from an assistant to a DOBO, so I was at mid-major level. So you're already doing travel, you're already doing video, you're already doing academics. So you're doing all that stuff already, where it's not like, oh, you're going to transition to being ops person and have to do that stuff. I'm very fortunate where at my positions at Marquette and Penn State, we have a very big staff. So we pretty much have 2 ops people. So we have myself and another, and I pretty much do everything strictly basketball wise. I'm able to do scheduling, analytics, player development, tapes, teaching tapes, X's and O's, scouting. So that kind of was a factor, as well as me transitioning from assistant coach to the ops side, with just knowing that I have those perks in it. I get to be honest too, like Dan said, I hate talking on the phone. That's not who I am. So having to recruit, that's not what I wanted to do. It took me 5 years to figure it out. And since then, it's been amazing. Not that I don't help out with recruiting, but it's just something that's not my first thing. Give me a job to do, give me a task. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it to you. But don't tell me to call 5 kids and call 5 coaches. That's the last thing that I want to have to do with others. But I just think being able to have played at a high level, been that assistant coach, and being able to do things that are on the floor, that not on the floor, but helping out the managers, make sure the practice players are good. So having a hand that you're still doing stuff that's on the floor, and making sure things are running smoothly. So coach doesn't have to worry about, oh, where their cone's supposed to be at this next drill, but I'm in charge of make sure the managers have what they're doing. They know what's going on. They have practice plan. They know when we're supposed to have 5 cones here. We're supposed to have 3 balls over there. Just making sure that everyone is staying on task. With that being said, you got to be organized. You have to be one step ahead of everyone, especially your head coach. You got to think ahead of them. You got to think for them. And then you got to be the first one in and the last one out. I usually 90% of the time I'm the first one in, last one out. You can get to the office early, you can get stuff done before people start getting there, and then they're asking you for help. So then your task list starts getting pushed to the side. Get in, get your stuff done that that needs to be done that day, and then you can disperse yourself to help out others. But I love the position that I am. Like, I won't go back to the coaching side of it. I love the ops side and just being more of behind the scenes, and getting tasks done that people don't know you do, and they don't even ask about it because it never came up. Is kind of the good side of it, for me. But just you gotta put the work in, and get your feet wet, roll your sleeves up. You gotta sweep. You might have to sweep the floor. You might have to put chairs away. Like, I've been in this business for 13 years and I'm helping set up practice. Like, I don't care. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm trying to make the program better. I'm trying to make the team better. But like when your kids see that, the staff sees that, like, then they're more apt to come in and help you out, and do the same thing. So.
Definitely. I think it's so important that ops has a pulse of everything that's going on in the program, just so that you thoughts about, so things don't have to get to the head coach and they don't have to worry about things that aren't basketball related, because obviously they have so much on their plate. So if you can kind of take things off their plate progressively, that's what you're going to do a really great job. So thanks, Pam. All right. So next we're going to transition back to John. So John, you obviously had the great fortune of working for Tony Bennett and his staff. So what were some of the things that you were able to learn during your time at UVA?
Golly, there's so much both on and off the court, and I think the number one thing that will always stick out to me about Coach Bennett and really the rest of the staff is just how genuine they are. And I think you can pick that up by even just hearing the way he speaks. That's what drew me to the program in the first place. You know, when I was at Miami, Florida, one of the things I would do was always listen to the coaches' press conferences afterwards. And obviously, being in the ACC, Miami would play Virginia once or twice a year, and that's what drew me there. Is just when someone has a genuine nature about them, and you hear them speak, and you just recognize that what they're saying is real, you know, and that there's not like a media version of them and a basketball coach version of them, but it's just like they're a person and their personhood is coming out as a coach. That was by far the most attractive thing about being a part of that staff. And so I really was just able to take that in every day and recognize that you can achieve a very, very high level in this business and in life by just doing things the right way and being who you are. And lots of times that means sacrificing things, but it always means sacrificing things that would have pulled you down. So I think that was the number one thing, is just the humility. You know, UVA is built on pillars: passion, unity, servanthood, humility, and thankfulness. And so understanding, like, humility is not just thinking lowly of yourself, it's having an appropriate view of who you are, recognizing what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And you know, that's what drew me there, and that's what everyone on that staff had to embrace, and that's what everyone in the program had to embrace. And so it's like, you lose to a 16 seed in the first round, and it's like, it's not a fluke. Like, the game was tied at halftime, it's not a fluke, you know. And everyone can say, oh, it's just one bad game. And so you have to stare yourself in the face and be able to say, well, what is it about us where we struggled here and where we fell here? And that's just constantly what goes on inside that program. It's hey, who am I? Who are we? How do we improve from here? How do we get better? And it's like Coach Bennett says, it's like, if you're willing to embrace times of difficulty, it buys you a ticket to a place that you never could have gotten any other way. And so when you're able to embrace an aspect of humility and say, hey, I'm weak here, I need to improve, or hey, here's where I can help this team that maybe other people can't, to truly understand that not only it's not that you're not, the key is not to be willing to do things that you believe are under you. The key is to believe that there's nothing under you, right? That from there you're going to succeed, and from there great things are going to happen. Not just when the starting five has that attitude, but when you got 13 players and 8 staff members, whatever it can be, when everyone's got that attitude of, hey, whatever it takes, if I die, I die, but our team's going to succeed, that's when you have awesome things happen. And so that's why it's like, it's a testament that they came out and they won the title the next year. And for me, it's family. Like, I was at Furman that year and I felt like I still won a title just because it's like, those are my people, like those are who I've been through battle with. So I just say that aspect of all of the pillars, but especially humility and understanding who you are and how you can serve. I had a front row seat to that every day, and that was far, far more valuable than any of the basketball things I learned, which was still obviously off the charts. Getting to learn under a few Hall of Fame coaches in my career, that's one of the most valuable things I'll take away from that program.
No, that's great. Obviously, we all know what Virginia has done, and for you to be a part of that, obviously, you're able to learn a lot of great lessons that'll hopefully continue with you as you continue to progress in the business. So that's big time. So next, we're going to go over to Chris. So Chris, as a graduate assistant in the DOBO under two very successful head coaches in Chris Mullen and Mike Anderson, what were you able to learn from Chris and continue to learn from Mike as you progress in this business? What are some of the things that they've been able to teach you about running a program, culture within a program, those kind of things? What have you been able to take away from those two guys?
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference for me during my time at St. John's under both coaches has just been the actual building of a program. I spent time as a student manager at Kansas, and by the time I arrived at Kansas, it was a well-oiled machine. They were doing really well, high-level recruits, and the culture was already in place. So everyone kind of knew the level of expectation from Coach Self to the players, to the managers, to all the support staff. There was a level of expectation there that was already well in place, and kind of everyone understood that. And then I came in Coach Mullen's second year, and we were building, but for me, I wasn't really used to, everyone not always being on the same page, and how much communication truly went into a program, and trying to set a standard and a level of expectation to your players, but also to your staff. And as a staff, when you're trying to build that culture, you guys really have to set the example. You want your players to be in the gym, you want your players to be around on time, everything like that. You got to be in the office nonstop. You got to be early to everything. Everyone's really got to embrace that. So I think that was the biggest difference when I first got here with Coach Mullen. And then I was obviously very, very fortunate. You don't often get to have a coach leave and end up staying at the same place. So that's something I'm very grateful for. So it's been interesting now, 1 year into Coach Anderson's time, just to kind of see how he builds it. Coach Mullen, he wasn't a guy who had coached in college before. So obviously the two guys are very different. Coach Anderson's went in and built a program at UAB, went to a Sweet 16, went in and built a program at Missouri, went to Arkansas and created his culture there and built a program there. So he's been through the fire. New York City is obviously very different. St. John's is different than geographically any place he's been. So it's been different for him here. And I've been fortunate enough to have been with him since day one. Literally his first day on campus, I was around. He kind of gave me a trial period of 2 weeks or so to work with him and kind of help him out because he didn't have a full staff. And so I was able to kind of see the odds and ends and everything that went into that, as far as like from day one, what were his priorities, assessing the facilities, watching tape on all the returning players, talking to the guys and their families, especially the guys who were in the transfer portal, and re-recruiting the team that we currently had there, because we had a decent amount of talent coming back, and he did a really good job of doing that first and foremost, and then going out and hitting the road and filling the open scholarships that we had while he was interviewing coaches for his staff and doing all the media and everything that, and just how he handled that was really eye-opening to me, because there was really no downtime. He's living in a hotel. Our associate head coach is living in a hotel and working day and night to build that culture. So to me, that was really eye-opening. Like I said, I had been through it with Coach Mullen, but it was very different. It was much more NBA style at that point. Our staff was very different. And now with Coach Anderson, it's been good. I have nothing to complain about, just a ton of stuff to be grateful for, and obviously seeing how he's built it up with the hard work and the family atmosphere. Family, something that was a part of Coach Self's program, but he really embraces it. His wife's around. she's helping design things in the office, and she travels with us everywhere. We go over to coach's house when recruits come in town, occasional meals together as a team. We embrace that family thing, and it's proven to really, really work with us, and excited for year 2 now.
No, that's big time, especially being able to kind of be in the mix of 2 different times during the program, 2 different really cool experiences that you got to take part in. That's a really cool experience for sure. All right, so next we're gonna go over to Zach. So Zach, so you were a video coordinator before you got promoted to the DOBO at Winthrop. What were some of the things that you did in that position to give coach the confidence that he can move you up as his DOBO?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I did totally wrong was coming into Winthrop. I used sports code my whole life, 4 as a manager, 2 as a GA, and that's all I knew. So when I found out, my good friend Mitchell Hill's on this call, he was the ops prior to me. He said, "Hey, we use Exos here." So when I applied for the video job, I did a 60-minute kind of demo with someone from Exos teaching me the basics. I had no idea how to use Exos. I barely ever heard of it. So on day 2, I get here, I go in a coach's office, maybe the worst thing I've done since I got here, and I say, "Hey, coach, we need to switch to sports code." And I'm not advising anyone to do that. It went over okay, but we certainly didn't switch to sports code. As you guys know, coaches are how they are. When they're comfortable with something, they ain't changing. So I had no choice but to learn Exos inside and out. And I will say, we have 24/7 customer support with Exos, which saved my life and my job. So anytime I messed up, called them right away, fixed any problem that we had. But it was an experience learning an entire new video software. I'm sure some of you on here have used it before. Still prefer sports code, but that's a different story. But really, a few different people have talked about it. The best ability is availability. And, my title was video coordinator, but there's so many other things going on and so many different hats you wear. So what I wanted to do was crush every single assignment that came across my desk and then take other assignments off other people's desks. And that's how I wanted to bring value. As many different things as I could get involved with, whether it was graphics. We're doing all kinds of different construction stuff for our program. Our video coordinator now, our GAs, they're painting panels and building frames and putting new lighting up in different areas, the hallway, all kinds of different things that don't come with the job title. So when you can be great at all those different areas, I think you just prove yourself. And, I was fortunate. Mitchell moved on to another opportunity, and coach came right to my office and offered me the job, which I'm extremely grateful for. But a lot of it is luck and timing. If Mitchell doesn't leave, I could be videos going into year number 3, who knows? But, just fortunate and crush where you're at, embrace where your feet are planted, as Coach Driscoll says, and, great things will happen. So.
Perfect. And then Allie, last question before we get going. So you talked about how you were an intern with the Mystics. What was that experience like? And what were some of the things that you were able to take from the highest level of your game and bring back to the college game when you got back to campus?
Yeah, I'll try to make this quick. I know I ran out of time, but I kind of want to combine the Mystics internship with my time at Rutgers, just because they were very similar in the sense that, I worked for Coach Stringer. She's one of the greats, like Hall of Famer, all of that. And every day, like from her players to the staff to the managers, like she expected greatness out of everybody. Like we had a really high standard of excellence. So those life lessons and everything that she's kind of taught me and the coaches and the DOBO there, Coach E, like, everything I wanted to do at a high, at a high caliber. I wanted to be right all the time. How can I make the job easier for the coaches? Like everybody else has said, like, I've done food orders, drove to Coach Stringer's house to drop off a scout at 2 a.m., like right before we play Seton Hall in the NCAA tournament. Like, I'm doing everything that I can, laundry, packing bags. I spend 15 hours one day at the rack because I was covering Minnesota shoot around. I tried to cover every shoot around so I could network with people and meet people and pick their brain. And, Minnesota ran late. They had a snowstorm. Flight gets delayed 4 or 5 hours. So I pull a 15-hour day at the rack, just doing homework, stuffing recruiting envelopes, like anything that I can do. And I kind of took that into my internship with the Mystics. Like, I'm a big WNBA fan. I could talk about it for days. Love the game and everything. And so going to, be an intern there was kind of like another dream come true. And, I was just going to be the hardest worker there. I was going to throw myself into every experience possible, whether that was, community service with WNBA Cares, helping the equipment manager make the Gatorade and bringing the cart out. That wasn't my ops intern job duty, but, I'm a servant leader. I want to help. I want to make everything easier and smooth. And, I'm walking players to their interviews for media day, so I got to see kind of the marketing side. And, I just kind of, throw myself into everything and learn because, I consider myself and I want to be like a Swiss Army knife. Like, that's what I think of myself. Like, I could do multiple things. I have it in my arsenal, like ready to go. So as many experiences that I could get from, like I said, equipment to facilities, mopping the floor, running the clock at practice, like I was ready to do it. And I think, just that standard of excellence, Coach Stringer, Coach Tebow at the Mystics, Coach Sue, Coach White, everybody has that. And I just try and live up to that every day. And then, a couple other things like never settle, strive for greatness, try to make something better. If it works, how can we make it better? Leave no stone unturned was another one of Coach Stringer's sayings. Like, think of every possible scenario. Like, somebody before me said, you got to know, Pam said it, you got to be one step ahead, 2 steps ahead of your coach. On the road, what happens if our flight gets delayed? I got to know the steps. Who do I got to call? Like, that's constantly things that I'm thinking about that probably nobody knows. I'm constantly in contact with the bus drivers, the manager that's covering our shoot around. Like, I text them when I leave the hotel, when we're 5 minutes away, when we're pulling up, like constant communication. And that was a big thing that I learned early on, with the Mystics, at Rutgers, at Florida State, and just, I'm still, spinning a lot of plates, want my hand in every cookie jar just so I can get a taste. I'm in marketing meetings and how can we make our intro video cool and, all that type of stuff. How do I make the office flow better? How do I teach our managers, all that type of stuff. So just trying to be great in everything that I do and, set a standard of excellence. That's kind of all my experiences, have that in common. And, I just try and be the best that I can be every day and encourage people around me. So.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And obviously that's a great experience that you can kind of add to your resume and the things that you're able to learn over there and bring back to kind of make your teams in college even more efficient is big time. So before we go to audience questions, I just want to touch on one thing, building relationships. That's one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to do these past 4 to 5 months. But just if anyone has a 1 or 2 minute some advice on how to build relationships effectively. I know Dan's talked about some things that he's done. Chris talked about some things that he's done. But just if any of the coaches have anything that they would suggest on how to successfully build relationships and continue those relationships, I know that's important. You can't reach out to Dan or John or Zach or Pam or Allie or Chris tomorrow, get their email, get their phone numbers tomorrow, and then not reach out to them for 8 months and think you can say, oh yeah, I know Dan, like that's a great guy. When a GA spot opens up in Marquette, I know I can give him a call and he'll be able to put a good word in with Wojo. That's not how it's worked. That's not how it works. You're gonna have to continually build a relationship. It's a give and take. I think this business has become very transactional. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing that can help you continue to foster those relationships and build those relationships? Anybody can jump in on that one.
I'd have something to say. I think lots of people in our business kind of focus on building relationships, like you said, and they hear that and they think that they need to build their Rolodex. And so if you have 500 contacts in your phone, that's better than having 300 contacts. And in a way, you might be right. I think there's, different ways to try and get things done. I would encourage you, and this is one of the things that I've done and it's worked for me, just work to build value. So it does you very little to reach out to me and, call me, let's say once a month, or we text once a month, or, that's not necessarily any better than you staying in touch with me every other week. But if you build a relationship with me where you show that you have value, and that's not selfishly speaking for me. So it's not like, hey, John wants people to come help him and serve him. But like if Matt called me, a month from now and he's saying, hey, I'm going to keep in touch with John. Well, what's going to separate Matt from Sean? And chances will be that I would think higher of Matt if he's been able to bring me value. And that's not, again, me speaking selfishly, like I need people to bring me things, but I think that's the difference maker. It's not who you know, it's what value you've brought to them before, where I can say, hey, here's what I can attest to for Matt when this job opening is here. Here's the quality of work that he's represented. Here's what he's done for me before. I know he's shown me value. And so I can put my name on the line and say, hey, Matt's brought me value before. I think he would bring your program value as well. So it's not about knowing people or about building numbers, in my opinion. It's largely about building value. And so figuring out a way that, okay, don't necessarily want to know people, want to serve people. And maybe it's finding someone on the screen that you're saying, okay, hey, Ben's over at Akron. What can I do to serve Ben? Because one day Ben might be in a place where he's going to remember how I served him and he's going to say, hey, that John guy, he's all right. And maybe it comes through conversation, but maybe it also comes things more tangible, like, hey, I don't know if you've ever considered doing scouting like this, or hey, I don't know if you've got any interest in recruiting graphics. Here's a skill set I have, or I can make these videos, or whatever it may be. But I just say try and find ways to bring value to the people around you, and the networking part of it will take care of itself.
John, I absolutely love what you said. Like it's not about the numbers, and I love what you said about serving. Like, one thing that I learned this summer, and like Dwayne Killings, one of our associate coach, knows everybody. Like literally knows everyone. He's got numbers, but even him, he's got like 5 people that he talks to every single day, and like he's got a core group of people, and that's more important than just sheer numbers. I had a call with Brendan Sir. And I kind of asked him the same question, like about network. And he said, like, he's like, Dan, I call 4 or 5 people every day. And it's then, you think Brendan's what? No way. He talks to all, like, he probably makes 40 phone calls a day. Not true. So I think you're absolutely right with that.
Yeah, and I would piggyback off that and just say, and John kind of hit on it, but just kind of be creative. It's not just about as much as you can hit somebody up, text them, send them an email, whatever, but hey, Dan, I watched your game last night and I really liked this action you guys ran, and send them the action, send them a short clip of the video if you can, or I saw an NBA team run the same action as you guys, or something like that. Not always just, hey, good luck tonight, or hey, just wanted to check in, hope you're doing well. Because I think it really is about genuine relationships. Obviously, I'm sure everyone on this call would agree that if you reach out to us, whether it's text or email or whatever, we're going to do our best to get back to you, because a lot of us were in your shoes. I know that's something that I really strive to do. But at the same time, you gotta really put forth an effort to be creative and kind of stand out. Recruiting graphics, whatever you're working on. I mean, there's always something that could be done, but don't just let it be the same old thing. Hope you're doing well, good luck, things like that. Really make yourself stand out, and it'll go a long way. And then kind of just piggybacking off what Dan said, like if you're fortunate enough to be a part of a staff that's connected, use that to your advantage. I know when I was at Kansas, other coaches from elsewhere would be coming through a practice, or in the summertime they'd be around catching up with our staff, and our staff knew that I wanted to get into coaching, so they would introduce me to them, and I would follow up with the note, and then that way they have a face to the name, and you can continue to build a relationship that way. And then when they're in town for recruiting or whatever, the next time maybe you go to dinner with the 2 coaches, things like that. Make the people around you aware of what you want to do, and then put in the work, and they're going to be able to help you build connections as well.
All right, perfect. So the way I just planned on doing it, if you have a question, unmute yourself, just introduce yourself, let the coaches know who you're directing the question at, if it's to a specific person or if it's to the whole group. Like I said, just introduce yourself and unmute yourself, and we'll just take it from there.
Sure, Caleb, I'll hop in pretty quickly. This is be an open question to anyone who has an answer, because I guess it's pretty broad. I'm Dominic Persia. I'm a sports management grad student at UMass Amherst. I got about a year experience working on the player representation side in terms of pro player management and stuff like that. But I've never had experience working with a basketball team on any level. But over the last 5 months, I've kind of realized that I want to pivot towards coaching. And I've reached out to the DOBO at my school, and I'm moving back in a few days. So with my experience on pro player management side and stuff like that, what types of things can I do once this process with actually meeting him ramps up? What can I do to show that I can add value to the program, and especially in a season like this where everything is so up in the air, show that I'm willing to do anything and contribute to the program in a way that is valuable.
Thanks for your question, Dominic. Like, the one thing that I would say for you, you have your own strengths, right? Get in person with that DOBO and figure out what that program and what that DOBO needs. Because ultimately, you want to incorporate your strengths with it, but that's not as important as finding what that program needs. And hopefully your greatest strength matches their greatest weakness, and it matches perfectly, but we don't know that. So I think, asking questions, and then whatever it is, if they need help, Photoshop or whatever it is, learn that, and then obviously understand that, understand the COVID situation. And if you need to work for free or do something for free, you may have to do that for a little bit. So I would say that, ask questions, be aware of what they need, and do your research.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I would find a way how you could be an asset to the program, to the DOBO, to the coaches, even if it's stuffing envelopes or something like that, doing some tedious things, that maybe, the coaches or the DOBO doesn't have time for. But I would also say, make yourself available and flexible. Just because, if I had somebody come to me and want to be a part of it, they're like, well, I can't for 2 months, and I got to get ready for school. I would just dive in head first and do you need help today? Is there anything around the office you need help today, tomorrow? Just show that you're willing to kind of dive in and be thrown to the fire. I know that's something that I would appreciate, and it would really stand out. If somebody's like, yeah, I'm willing to help right away, whatever you need, I'm like, oh, I'm a little more inclined to bring them on and have them help us out.
I would say, just piggybacking off Dan too, understanding the COVID situation is big. For all of us on staff, things are changing every single day. So much more is going to technology and recruiting pieces, Zoom calls, whatever the case may be. So for us, for instance, we don't know how many managers we even have around. We return 8 managers. We're not even sure we'll have all of them around for the full year, because you're introducing more people around your athletes and your staff. And obviously the spread of this thing is hard to control. So I have so many people reaching out, wanting to be a manager, wanting to help. And really the main areas that people can help are helping with recruiting graphics, helping with video stuff, things like that, doing research on the side, stuff where they may not always be around the office, but they're having a huge impact on us as a staff and things that we need. So I think understanding that COVID piece is going to be big, because we don't know what lies ahead, and every day is kind of really changing and very much fluid.
Thank you.
I have a question. My name is Ben. I'm a head manager at the University of Akron. I'm entering my 3rd year as a manager. And a specific situation that I'm in right now, where over the summer I reached out to our assistant coaches to see if there was anything I can do and kind of make a name for myself there. and they said, yeah, thank you for reaching out, yada, yada, yada. But nothing really came of it. And as I want to get into this industry and, one day end up like you guys, I wanted to think of a way that I can develop trust with those coaches, and I don't know if you guys have any tasks right off the top of your head that you think I could do or us managers can do to develop trust with the coaches, and that'll build my relationships with them, and that'll be able to give them something to say to other coaches when I'm looking for a job when I graduate in a year. So if you guys have anything on that note, that would be great. I'm working on Photoshop. I'm getting a certificate in social media, and I'm trying to learn sports code on my own. So that's what I've started with. But thank you guys.
Yeah, I would say you got it right with the Photoshop. Definitely keep reaching out to those guys, and just because they didn't get back to you one time, don't give up on that. But maybe you reach out to the ops or video if you have, or GA. Find out some of the kids that you guys are recruiting. Maybe some you just offered. If you don't know, maybe go to verbal commits and see who's out there that you guys have offered recently, and just start making graphics for those kids. And then once you start sending them to the coaches, the assistants, the ops, whoever it is, they might be intrigued and, hey, can you make one for this kid? And your trust level will just grow from there. So sometimes you just got to keep, sticking your foot out there and hope that, there'll be bites.
I would say another big thing too is, I know with our staff, like we're real big on like end of game situations, ATOs and all that stuff. Like especially with the NBA, so many games are on TV these last couple of weeks and moving forward, of just like going through and pulling, like everything's on Twitter. Like there's a guy on Twitter that posts like the top 5 ATOs every day, just finding stuff like that to send to your staff and be like, hey, saw these clips. Might be something, they might look at it, they might not, but like at least they know that you're trying and you're looking at stuff to see that might be able to help them. They might grab a play out of it. You never know. But just kind of something like that, or even international stuff, like when FIBA starts back up, looking at that, like they're always looking for wrinkles and different plays to add to the system. So
Yeah, I'd also say it's important to both bring value and find your niche. I think one of the mistakes that some managers make, or some, I guess, just understaffers make, is that they're so eager to get their foot in the door that they are willing to learn things that they really don't enjoy. And so there's a bunch of people that are looking to learn Photoshop that probably can't sit behind a computer and make graphics for 3 hours. But let me tell you, if you start making Photoshop graphics and showing them to your coaches, and they bring you on because they want graphics made, guess what you're going to be doing every day? You're going to be sitting behind a computer making graphics for 3 hours. And I say that truly to serve you. It's like, as much as you want to serve a program, make sure that the way that you're able to serve the program is also going to be able to serve you long term. Because the last thing that you want is to put yourself in a position where, listen, nobody here is ever in it for the money, right? And so the last thing you want is that what was a passion becomes a job, and it's because you're in a place where you're doing something every day that you don't like doing. And there's aspects to all of our jobs where we don't necessarily love everything, and we do it because the majority of the things are things that we do love. But I just encourage you to bring value in something that you find a niche for and a passion for. So if that's something like drawing up plays and, doing something like Pam talked about, of finding these ATOs and drawing them up and providing them to coaches, is great, because the more that they would rely on you for something like that, that's right up your alley. And maybe it's Photoshop, maybe it is art, maybe it's video work, but find something that you're interested in. And in a perfect world, what you're interested in also blends with the staff that you're serving, and you're able to serve them well in that way, in a way that you enjoy, and they get to lean on you for that. and it becomes a great mutual relationship rather than just I'm going to do this and become a slave to it. And then you're going to end up hating, your time with the program when you really should enjoy coming into work every day, getting to serve the people that you're around.
Chris, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to be going into my first year at Colorado as a graduate manager. I've been talking with Bill Carton over there. It's more of a grad assistant role. I'll be doing a lot of synergy work and on-court work with the players. With COVID, I have a unique situation. I'll be going out there in a couple days, but in about 3 weeks, I'll be flying back to Sacramento for the birth of my son. So I have a really limited time as far as first impressions. What are some things with first year grad assistants, managers, anybody that's worked for you guys that have really stood out for me to just these first few weeks, knock it out of the park with the assistant coaches? I've been talking with Carton, but this is really my first time meeting him as well. So just really leave that lasting impression. So I'm gone for the birth of my son. It's not, we didn't really miss Chris that much. It's, man, he did these things for these first 3 weeks. We can't wait for him to get back.
Pull a little air mattress out in the office and put a pillow there, and you'll be good to go. No, it's, I think obviously being in the gym, number one, it's not just that your coaches will miss you, but also your student athletes, your players. You want them to say, where's Chris at? Where'd he go? Like the more that they can say that, the better. Obviously, like to your, you said that, or you want to make an impression, like you're always being evaluated no matter what you do. That's one thing that I've learned. Like I'm like always watching things and things that don't even matter. Like Dan Malloy, like there's cats like walking around like in this backdrop. Like Ben, you're scratching your chin. I mean, I don't know, like just things like that. Like Nate Kessel, like you have the perfect posture right now. Like just things like that. Like watch and figure out like ways that you can step in and help. If one of your coaches needs help bringing a box to his car, go help him. Like go run and do that. So just being ready and available. You mentioned doing video work and doing synergy stuff. Like try to have some stuff ready. So like before you get there, you have stuff to present and to give coaches and to put on their computers so they're ready so they have something to watch. So that would be huge. But so I would just say like, be the quality control, be the eyes and ears of the program. If you hear of the players saying something, relay that to the coach. Because probably right now, like your program doesn't have that. Your program doesn't have like a quality control person, someone that's relaying information from the players to the coach. Not that you're being a tattletale, but you have like you're available to do that. So
I want to jump in really quick. There's a Rising Coaches member that started hosting his own Zoom call, and Alvin Brooks and Jerome Tang are doing a Be Ready Zoom call every Wednesday, and he did a mock interview on that Zoom call, and his head coach that just hired him last week heard him go through the mock interview and talk to Adam at Rising Coaches about some of the things that he was doing, and he actually got a job because of that. So you never know who's on a Zoom call that could be potentially your future boss, who knows of an opening. So, I mean, I know Dan just talked about it, Nate, you're sitting up straight. I mean, that the littlest thing like that, we've all heard it. People are lying on their beds, no shirt on Zoom calls. So, I mean, that just goes to show that that's not a risk I would want to take as a professional to hire that person on my staff. So again, you never know who's on your call, who's watching you, who's scrolling through the different pages of the call to see what everyone looks like, to see some names, to see if anybody looks familiar. But I mean, I think that individual that just got hired, that's a perfect example that you never know who's watching, and you've always got to be professional and taking care of business, because again, you never know who's watching and who could be potentially your future boss.
Chris, I'll also just say to focus on building trust, work on building relationships. That's the thing that's going to cause people to miss you and ask, where is he and what's going on. And so focus on building relationships, not just with the assistants and the coaching staff, but with the players and getting to know them. And the trust that you build is going to be immensely valuable. And a lot of that is because players will hopefully, as they grow to trust you with information that's very valuable to the coaching staff, but that they might not be willing to share directly with the coaching staff. So that's the unique advantage that a graduate assistant has, is that he's not a member of the coaching staff, but he is a member of the coaching staff. And so lots of times just through workouts, you'll get to talk with a player afterwards. Hey man, how are things going? Well, things are rough with my girl right now. And so when an assistant coach is wondering why number 32 is in a funk and he's had 3 bad workouts in a row, you can be able to say to the assistant coach, hey man, like, I was talking to him the other day. He said he's going through some stuff with his girl, and that's valuable information that the coaching staff now has that maybe the player wasn't wanting to talk to the coach about. But since you were able to bring that valuable information, they're able to help him work through that as a staff and make him a better player and be a better team. So trust is going to bring you really, really far in this business. And so I just say do whatever you can to build trust with your new staff and the players around you.
Go ahead, Matt.
All right, thanks everybody for taking some time and answering the questions. This has been awesome. Really, really enjoyed hearing from all of you guys. I just want to throw this question out. Feel free for anybody who has some experience or answer. So coming up as a manager and as a GA, like, we're taking lots of stuff onto our plate all the time from all different coaches, right? And sometimes you sacrifice, what things you're interested in doing. I think a couple people talked about finding what your interests are, and also, maybe doing stuff on the side projects or film or suggestions, to help stay engaged with your coach. But for you guys in the ops job, how do you manage and prioritize different responsibilities that are coming to you? Obviously, whatever the head coach needs, you get done first. But is it your assistant coach that you work closest with? Is it something a player needs? How do you guys go from balancing wanting to take all of these projects on and all of these initiatives to help everybody, but also, like, do you cut it off and say, hey, no, I actually don't have time to do that right now because I got 8 other things to go? Like, how do you guys manage that?
Yeah, I'll also go ahead and start. I would say the biggest thing for me, shifting from GA into ops, was like every single day I have a list, and it might sound crazy, but I literally, like, at night before I go to bed, I have a to-do list on the notes on my phone. Like, these are the things I have to prioritize tomorrow. And it always starts with my players first and foremost, because that's what Coach Anderson wants. It's always about the players first. So that's where my direction always is. Like, do I have everything in place for my players tomorrow, or whatever we have going on throughout the day? And then I start with Coach Anderson. I work my way down. I think the biggest thing, and I'm not a big delegator, that's just not my nature. I like to just knock things out on my own, and then I trust that it got done the right way. But for me, when I shifted into roles, you got to trust the people below you to be able to take some things on. So when you do get overwhelmed, some of those minute things that you're used to doing on your own, you might say, hey, my GA, can you knock this out for me? Or talk to your strength coach and see if he can help with something, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you do have to delegate those things because random things are always going to get thrown at you in an ops role. And then you have to find time for the things that you enjoy. I think Pam said, sometimes you got to get in earlier than everyone else and get things done. That way more things don't get thrown on your plate. For me personally, being in ops, the hardest thing is not being able to be down on the court and not being as involved with the basketball stuff. So my goal, especially during the season, is always to get in earlier than everyone else and spend some time doing some video stuff, whether it's my next scout with the assistant I'm working on and having things prepared for him, watching conference games, watching an NBA game from the night before, working on a video project for me personally. It's that basketball piece of things before everyone else could get in and throw things to me, and then trying to knock a few projects out that I know I need to get done for that day for the rest of the staff. So if other things do get thrown on me, I have enough time to kind of balance other things.
I think kind of piggybacking on what Chris said too, like you making a list, if you have a list and you get to the end of the day and there's a couple of things that are on there that you didn't get done, like those should be the first things for the next day. But just prioritizing that. But like you got to be okay saying no too. Like if you have too much, like, and someone comes up to you, assistant, is like, hey, can you get this done? Like it's okay to say no. Like you can't always just say, you can't be a yes, 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 yes. Like there's going to be a point where like you have to have a time where you need to catch up on stuff and just let them know, like, hey, I've got 6 other things that I'm trying to get done. Like once I get this done, if I can circle back around to you and help you out. But that one is hard for me as well in my spot, but you have to be okay with saying no. Some people might disagree, but I just think we can't get bogged down with everything and try to take everything on all at once. So
Yeah, and then Matt, it's I guess it's a simple thing, but it's not always easy. It's like just like if an assistant coach asks you to do something and you're swamped, all right, just ask, when do you need this by? And sometimes they'll tell you like, I need this done ASAP, or you'll have a feel for it. And sometimes, oh, next week. Like someone told me that, and I was like, wait, that's actually makes sense, because before I'm like, you always think if someone asks you, you need to do it right now. But that's actually not always the case. And then I guess for me personally, something that I do, it's not always easy, but I try to, like, the first hour of my day, I have a routine and it's planned. And it's so easy. Like for the longest time, when I wake up, the first thing that I check was my phone. What did I miss? What's going on? And it always made me reactionary to everything. And it got to a point where it was just like, it was too much. So, the first hour of my day, I don't look at my phone. I have my morning routine, and to your point, like there's different passions that you have, and it could be working out, it could be reading, it could be, to Chris's point, working on different projects, whatever you want to do, like create time for that. And then, I like to bookend my days. So usually like the middle of your day, you have no idea. Sometimes you have no idea what the hell's going to happen, but you can control the first hour of your day, and you usually can control the last hour of your day before you go to bed. So the more you can plan that, and to your point, like whatever passions that you have, maybe put it at early in the morning or later at night, because you cannot put it, like, I can't put working out. I love working out. I cannot put that at the middle of my day, because if I do, then it's going to be pushed off and it's not going to happen. So I think, to plan that out, bookend your days, and then also to just simply ask, when does this need to be done by?
I thought that was awesome what you just said, Dan. Just simply asking. I've never heard that or thought of that, and that's going to change me for sure, because Pam, I'm the opposite. Like I'm yes, I'll just find a way. And whether it's you're there until midnight or you're not sleeping or whatever. I'm not the best delegator, although I've gotten better at that. Something I still need to get even better at. But asking when something needs to be done by just changed me. So I appreciate you sharing that info. But I think the two most important things about being ops are organization and communication. I think most coaches on here would agree. And everyone organizes differently. Like Dan just said, the first hour and the last hour. And Chris uses notes. I use my reminders app, and there's just constantly stuff I'm putting in there and setting the alarm. So when I first got the job, I had 72 reminders in there, and thankfully it's never touched a number that high. But there's just constantly alarms going off, so there's reminders. So hey, I know, all right, I got to remind the guys that I need their shoe ordered by next Friday. So now I don't have to worry about that. All of a sudden, if I want to send that reminder on Wednesday, boom, it's going off and I can send it. So that helps me prioritize, like some of the coaches were talking about. But I think it comes down to organization and communication in everything we do. So if you can master those two areas, I think that'll help you a lot.
Yeah. I want to throw in one thing. I agree with Dan, and like, just ask. I have a great relationship with my coaches that I just ask them what needs to be done. But also I have a really big whiteboard. When I got to Pitt, one of my big things was, the one thing I wanted in my office was a whiteboard, and it kind of takes up one whole size of my wall. And if I'm running around doing something for the players because them and the coaches and them come first. Like, I'm like, hey, just throw a note on my whiteboard. So like I have like people just go in and put on my whiteboard, get with video coordinator about graphics or something, like need to schedule a meeting for academics or something like that. So kind of my door's always open with everybody. So just, hey, go in my office, write me a quick note if I'm running around doing something, and I can kind of see it. It's in front of me all day. Like, it's big, it's bold, it's there. Because sometimes I'll look it on my phone, the notification will go away because I'm busy. So that's just a little organization thing that I use that can maybe help somebody.
Go ahead, Nate.
Hi, my name is Nate Kazel. I'm head student manager at MD2 Malone University. And first off, I just want to say thank you guys for this time, just sharing your thoughts and unique experiences and your ideas on rituals. That's a big thing, I think, as student managers, that we just get like, wake up, what's going on with the team? What are we doing? We don't have that, that personal ritual of like, first thing we wake up in the morning, what do we do? Last thing we do at the end of the day. So I love those thoughts. I just wanted to ask you guys your opinion on this. I have a situation where like I love doing like basketball operations and travel itineraries and scouting reports, freelance, and just getting experience into that. And I don't really necessarily have that opportunity to do some of that with my program that I'm in right now, but I've been networking and talking with a team, the Can Charge in Canton, and I just wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were. Like, would you guys like, I'm a senior going to my last year, so would you guys think about pursuing going with the Can Charge and trying to be a volunteer and work with them, or try to grow like with Malone and finish up my time there, try to do the best I can for my coach there? Because I know the staff both at the Charge and like the G League and with Malone. I just wanted to hear you guys' opinions on that, because that's something I've been really battling with. I want to make the best, hear the best opinion from your guys' perspective.
I think there's a piece of it that's always tough to give advice when you don't necessarily know what someone's end goal is, because I think your passions, and then more important, your processes based off of those passions, are going to be what ends up mattering in large part on whether you reach that end goal or not. So if your end goal is, hey, I love being able to organize things and help people with travel plans, and that you're going to get the opportunity to do that with Canton, and I don't want to say negative side effects, but I don't know what side effects would come as a result of that opportunity that you have. But if the goods are good enough that the bads don't seem so bad, then I'd encourage you to pursue it. And if you say to yourself, you know what, this is, maybe there's too much risk involved, and it's a very general answer just because I don't necessarily know the specifics of your situation. But if you say to yourself, you know what, I have a really good situation right now, I can finish my education, which is really important to me. Like, I don't know that it's hard to give someone a right answer without necessarily knowing the end goal. So I'd always be happy to follow up with you afterwards as well, Nate, but I'd encourage you to, in trying to figure out what the next best move is for your life. Maybe 10 years from now, you don't know what you want to be doing, but if you have some sort of goal in mind, it makes it a lot easier. Put it this way, right? If I go and I try to use the GPS on my phone, it can't tell me whether to turn right or turn left until I've told it my final destination. And your final destination can always change, but for you to figure out what the next step might be, it helps to have an end goal in mind, so.
Nate, I'd also talk to your current coaching staff, and see what they think. And they may give you the answer right there. They may say, you're thinking about leaving? Get out of here. Or, they may say, hey, that's a great idea. You should definitely go pursue that. The other option, again, just like John said, we don't know exactly the details of your situation, and just like John, I'm more than willing to talk through it with you. but can you do both? Is that possible? And, can you make it possible? And can you, so I guess that's just one idea I'm throwing out there.
Anyone
'Cause
else?
the last thing you want to do is burn bridges.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else have questions? All right. Well, I just saved you guys some time. I threw everybody's on the panel's email in the chat. So again, feel free to reach out to them. They're all great individuals. Again, they were willing to give up some of their time tonight to help me out and to help some coaches out. Just a couple points before I let you guys go. Obviously, if you're not a member of Rising Coaches already, join up. I mean, it's been one of the best decisions I've made these past 5 months. The relationships that I've been able to build, the basketball knowledge that I've been able to take back to Westtown is astronomical. And I mean, I just feel like it's a great resource for coaches that comes out to be like $10 a month. So, I mean, I know it's all about sacrificing what you're willing to sacrifice to make it in this business. And that's been a great opportunity for me. And then again, Rising Coaches is hosting a women in sports panel. So Brandon asked me to drop the link. Aaron and Ashton do a great job of having some really influential women come on their call and talk about a multitude of different topics. So if you have some free time, jump on their call and kind of listen to what they have to say. That's one of the things that I wanted to do with this call. Just be very intentional. It would have been really easy to just have all men DOBO on this call, but I wanted to make sure that I was intentional and I was reaching out to female coaches as well, because they're important and they have aspirations of moving up. So I wanted to make sure I did my job at a high level and asked Allie and Pam to come on and kind of share their experiences on the women's side. So I think that was a great idea that I'm glad I had. And I feel like I learned a little bit from them as well. So it was a great opportunity to have those two great women come on and talk about their experiences, and then have our 4 guys come on and talk about their experiences. So I thought tonight was great. I'm glad everybody was able to tune in, and hopefully each person, again, trying to be intentional, is able to take something that they can start doing tomorrow morning to kind of help them progress in this business. So I appreciate everyone coming on today. If you have any questions, reach out. Let me put my number in the chat as everybody else does that as well. But yeah, again, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and hopefully you were able to learn something. And stay tuned next week. We're going to do an assistant coaches panel. So we got a bunch of high level assistant coaches at the Division I level coming on. So I'm really looking forward to next week. It should be another great opportunity to learn and grow about the assistant coach's journey. A lot of these guys have had different journeys. Again, just try to be intentional and making sure that each kind of audience member that comes on, we have a coach that relates to their story and can give them advice on the position that they're in. So glad everybody was able to tune in, and thank you all again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Caleb, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks, Caleb. Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.